My Vote political debate, sponsored by NAACP, Delta Sigma Theta, Sigma Gamma Rho, and Phi Beta Sigma. Throughout this year, we had a few voter registration drives with various organizations. We registered over 450 people, and I hope all of you voted or are going to vote. And today, we're going to educate you on the different platforms. Of course, we have the Republicans here, and we have the Democrats. So am I right? To start off, we're going to have Ms. Priscilla to introduce our moderator. Let's give Priscilla a round of applause.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
I am Priscilla P. and I'm the president of the Land Debated chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And I'm going to introduce the speaker for y'all. Jim Peterson is a professor of political science in the head of the political science department. Currently, he teaches the capstone course for political science majors, modern political ideologies and introduction to political science. He also teaches the capstone course for doctoral students in our DPA program. In 2011, he published the book NATO and Terrorism, Organizational Expansion, Mission, Transformation with Continuum Press. To everybody stand up and give Jim Peterson a round of applause.
Now we're going to introduce our debaters. Start off, to my left, we have Mr. Ryan Bearwall. He's a junior political science major from Acworth, Georgia. He's the chairman of the College Republicans, and his life goal, he would like to go to law school at the University of Georgia and eventually work his way into the politics at the federal level. Up next, we have Mr. Nicholas Buford from Cordele, Georgia. He's a political science major. He's an active member of the College Republicans. Nicholas wants to become more involved with Georgia politics and help conservatives of all backgrounds come together for a common good and help get this country back on track. Let's give the Republicans a round of applause. Up next, we have the VSU College Democrats. Up first, we have Mr. Michael Warren. He's a Valdosta, Georgia local. He's a major in political science, and his life goal is becoming a lawyer and Marine Corps officer, and become the first black governor. Next, we have Mr. Nathan Wilkins, also from Valdosta, Georgia, a major in physics, and his life goal is to become a research physicist and become a manager for Senate race. And last but not least, the only female up here, we have Ms. Sydney Hare, also from Valdosta, Georgia. She's a political science major, and her life goal is to become a successful federal prosecutor and ultimately a judge, to be an asset to her community and to be at least half as good as a parent as her parents were to her. To fight, a good fight. Now it's time for the moment that everyone came here for. To decide who goes first, we're going to have a coin toss, and I have my friend Ron here to come flip the coin. And the College Republicans are going to call what they would like. They said heads. We have Ron. We have heads. Somebody go first.
We'll let the Democrats go first.
The Dems are going first, and we will start the debate. Let's go.
First, a word about the rules. We decided that there ought to be about 8 to 10 minutes for each of 7 questions. So we'll start with the Democrats, and we'll give them 2 minutes to make their first statement. Then we'll go to the Republicans for a response, and then we'll go back and let a second person on the Democratic team make a statement about the same topic, and then the same with the Republicans. So there'll be kind of 4 responses each. There also, after 3 questions, will be a little break and a presentation about how to vote. You can see that on your program. And then at the end, we'll have audience questions. I think Chris has people who will be at the end of the rows and some paper. So the best way is to write your questions down, and then we can kind of put them in some kind of an order up here. But that's down the road. All right, the first question relates to the DREAM Act and immigration reform. Immigration issues have been very, very tense around this country and many other countries around the world. What rights do immigrants have? What restrictions exist? What prejudices exist? And so there was an effort to pass in Congress the DREAM Act, which would help undocumented younger people who came along with their parents achieve dreams of American citizenship. Basically, the Congress decided not to pass this, but last fall, the Obama administration, by executive order, implemented most of it. So it's still quite controversial. It basically opens the door to possible citizenship and at least staying here for those younger people who join the military or who are able to attain a college degree. So anyway, what is your take on this situation? That's a question we have. We'll begin with Democrats. They have no microphone, so give them careful attention. They'll do their best to project.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Like he said, there's no microphone, so if by chance you can't hear me, just hold up a hand and I'll belt it out louder for you. Before we begin, I do want to thank Chris and the NAACP for hosting us here tonight in cooperation with Sigma Gamma Rho, Phi Beta Sigma, and Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you, guys. As far as DREAM Act legislation goes and immigration, it should be clear that this is a bipartisan act. This is not strictly from the Democratic Party. Something that the Democratic Party does hold in favor as a pathway of citizenship. It's it is geared toward minors who come here. For the DREAM Act to apply, you had to have entered the country when you were under the age of 15, and you now have to be under the age of 35. So basically, if your parents brought you here when you were 7 years old, you learned the language, you saw the beauty of America, you invested yourself in the school system, and got a high school diploma, we see that you're at no fault for coming over illegally, and you should be given what this bill calls a conditional pathway to citizenship. What that entails is over the course of 6 years, you have several options to get your citizenship. You can serve in our military, or you can pursue and complete higher education. It is not a pathway a key to amnesty. This is something that would be very valuable to our community. As you know, a large population in South Georgia. You know, we have a large Hispanic population that helps in our workforce. With the conditional residency, there are restrictions. Obviously, you can't commit major crimes or this privilege will be revoked. And also, within 365 days total, that's the only time you're allowed to travel abroad. So basically, you can take a week trip here, a week trip there, but over that 6 years, you're only allowed to be abroad for 365. You have to generally show that you are an American and you want to be able to pursue that American dream. And I did want to point out that if you have family or heard stories about how hard it is to become a citizen, there are statistics from U.S. Weekly that show that only 38% of Americans can pass the test to gain citizenship. So I just think we do have a lot of illegal immigrants, and it is an issue. We need to make it easier for them to become citizens so they can contribute to the country that they've lived in for so long. So.
Perfect. That was exactly what you done. Perfect timing anyway. But we'll see what the Republicans think in their response.
Well, first of all, I'd like to give just a blanket thanks to everyone involved in setting this up, and especially everyone who attended. It's really great to see everybody out here who wants to find out the different parties' opinions on these very important matters. Definitely thank you, Dr. Peterson. You're a pretty good moderator, I'd say. I've been in a couple debates with you. So just to get down to it, the Republican Party really stands by the thought that before we try to enact any type of legislation that's going to lead towards any sort of amnesty or citizenship for illegal immigrants, we first have to focus on the source of the problem, and that is border security. Currently, there hasn't really been much done to help secure our southern border with Mexico, but many states such as Arizona have taken it upon themselves to secure their own borders and take their own state funds to build higher walls, increase security along the Mexico border. This has resulted in a drop from approximately 850,000 illegal immigrants crossing per year earlier in the last decade to now about 300,000. So obviously taking measures to secure the border helps stop the influx of illegal immigrants and ultimately will cut down on the need for legislation such as the DREAM Act. The Republican Party, particularly Senator Marco Rubio from Florida, has seen the current DREAM Act as a bit too broad. It's allowing too many illegal immigrants to come in, and honestly, it could end up just producing sort of assembly line for people hopping over the border illegally and becoming citizens. It just will not help stop the problem of illegal immigration. So Marco Rubio decided to edit the DREAM Act a bit and tighten down on the restrictions for these illegal immigrants, these children who would like to become citizens. They can have no bit of criminal record. They would then have to attend a 4-year college or military service and graduate with a degree from the college or be honorably discharged from the military. And then from there, they would be able to obtain a visa, and then after obtaining that visa, they could begin to start the normal process of obtaining
I think
citizenship.
we'll call time on that. You get another shot in just a minute. Okay, we'll go back to the Democrats for a second response, maybe to what you just heard a little bit.
You know, what he said for the most part was true, and I would agree with. The reference to no security measures in reference to Arizona, I'm not sure how you followed it in the news, but actually places like Arizona have the tendency to find someone who looks of Hispanic descent and pull them, because immigration is a problem. We're not saying it's not. So they see these Hispanics who they think might be illegal, pull them to the side and ask for their ID. There's actually a student at VSU over spring break was visiting family in Arizona, and he is of Hispanic descent, born and raised in the United States, but at first glance, you might think he hopped the border. Anyway, he got pulled aside and asked for his ID. He's at spring break shooting hoops with his cousin at the community park, and he didn't have it. So he was actually taken to a local jail and had to wait for his parents to come with his wallet to relieve him. I just think that immigrants are a valuable asset to our community and our country, and we don't need to make it any harder for them to become tax-paying citizens and earn their keep like we do. An interesting fact, half of our engineers and PhD scientists in this country are immigrants. So they are valuable. You know, it shouldn't be a target or any kind of profiling to degrade them or to do anything. And a quote from FDR that I think hits home for this is to remember and always remember that all of us, you and especially I, are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. This is a melting pot country. So I think we should give everyone the same consideration that we were given, especially if they're trying to get college degrees and, you know, serve in our great military. I think they've earned their keep. So.
Well, first of all, I would like to state that yes, it is very true that we are a country of immigrants. However, we're not a country of illegal immigrants. That's kind of the issue here. We, as a party, absolutely support immigrants that come into this country for a better life legally. And about the Arizona law, the very controversial Arizona law that could be, I suppose, by some labeled racial profiling. Well, when you're left up to your own devices as a state, when the federal government is not going to do anything to help you secure your borders, you're left up, as I said, to your own devices. You have to start cutting down somehow. Without getting any help from the federal government, Arizona saw that they had to step up the efforts that they were making already, and unfortunately, to some, it seems like it might have taken it too far, but Arizona wanted to stop this problem. They're doing it the best way they can. I'm going to yield the rest of my time to my partner.
It's important that we talk about this issue of immigration because, and I think they can agree with me on this, we are a country of immigrants. Whether your ancestors came to America by choice or whether, like my ancestors, they came through force, through slavery, we are a country of immigrants. What we have to do is we have to make sure we're enforcing federal law. You know, President Obama promised Hispanics he was going to pass immigration reform his first year. He didn't do it. He didn't bring both parties together like he said. Our Senator Marco Rubio has come up with his own plan. He's from Cuba. He has a plan for himself, something that will work. You have to make sure that you're bringing both parties together because both parties want more immigrants to come to this country, but we want them to come the legal way.
Okay, thank you. We now move on to the second question, and to be fair, we'll have the Republicans begin this and keep rotating back and forth. There's been a lot of discussion about the fact that baby boomers are now retiring in massive numbers, I think 10,000 a day, something like that. And so that's going to put a real pressure on a lot of our services that they will be needing in retirement. And this boils down to the matter of Social Security. And so, as you probably know, there have been many projections about Social Security, the fund itself being in huge trouble in the not-so-distant future. So there's a need to do some early planning to be proactive about that. So basically, what is your point of view about how to deal with the coming crisis in Social Security?
Dr. Peterson, as you said, Social Security is going to be bankrupt in the not-so-distant future. It's a program that I probably won't be able to see the benefits of. However, the Republican Party has decided to adopt a position of giving control of their retirement funds to the actual workers. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to take your money and put it in Social Security because we're the government, we can do that. The Republican Party absolutely supports giving workers a choice. You can choose, okay, maybe I do want to put my money in Social Security and reap the benefits of that later. Or you can choose that, you know what, I want to keep the money that I would have put in Social Security and invest it in the stock market. Something like that. Basically opening up retirement plans to their workers to plan out and really just letting them be in control of their own retirement future. Many young people have lost faith in Social Security. For one, I am one of them. I believe many people in this room would say that they aren't exactly looking forward to having to start to rely on Social Security. This program was enacted in the 1930s. It's 2012. This program is very long due for an overhaul, and at the current rate, most politicians don't want to touch it. It's something very, very, I would say, volatile in the political environment, but the Republican Party has a plan and would love to see it implemented.
Democratic response.
Unlike the Republican Party, we as a party do not wish to privatize Social Security, but instead to strengthen Social Security. The main proposal is to eliminate the payroll tax cap, because currently the payroll taxes are capped. After you make $106,000, none of the rest of your income is taxed for payroll taxes, and payroll taxes are how we fund our Social Security and Medicare programs. By eliminating the payroll tax cap, we can fund Social Security and Medicare through 2075 to provide a sustainable, guaranteed benefit program as we have today without the risk of the private market and the stock market. As we saw in 2008, when the stock market crashed, if we had privatized Social Security in 2004, as President Bush had proposed then, and Romney is proposing now, millions and billions of dollars would have been erased from retirement funds and would not be available to retirees today and in the future.
Thank you. Then back to the Republicans.
First of all, I'd like to refute a big point of the Democrats' argument there. The Republican Party is not pushing for a total privatization of the Social Security system. We want to give people options. If you want to remain with Social Security, you can absolutely do that. However, if you want to invest your money in the private sector, go ahead and do that. That's where the Republican Party stands on. We are a party that absolutely supports personal choice and personal freedom. I think that's about it. Oh, no, that's right. Raising taxes. That's a solution that I hear far too much coming from the left, coming from the Democratic Party. It's just not good for the economy. It's not good for the American people right now. We're already strapped for cash as it is. Taking more money away from the American people now will not come, period.
And a final thought by the Democrats.
Well, as the Republican plan says, they do provide options, but if you provide options and you allow some of the money from Social Security to be diverted into private accounts, how can you pay for the current recipients to continue receiving their Social Security benefits? You will not be able to provide the current level of benefits to the retirees or to future retirees that wish to maintain their current status on the Social Security plan today.
Did you want to chime in? You have a little more time. Sure.
And also with the Republican Party, it's surprised that they want to do anything with Social Security, because when it was first proposed in the 30s, they were highly against it, called it creeping socialism, and now they are supposedly all giddy to help Social Security. It's just a surprise act that they continue to put on.
Okay, thank you. Our third question goes to good to see the audience. Okay, we've been in an economic crisis since 2008, and And initially, both President Bush in his last year and then President Obama in his first year had stimulus plans which tried to create many, many jobs in various places. It cost a massive amount of money. But, of course, if you followed carefully the presidential election and, of course, state races as well, you know that many, many people are out of a job still 4 years later. And this really is probably the central issue of the presidential campaign. You can just tell that whenever the unemployment rate is announced, you know, the candidates are kind of quivering. What's it going to mean? Will it go up or down? Anyway, at the moment it's at 7.8% unemployment. But this also has a real sharp edge when it comes to all of you, because the figures seem to be, and this is frightening, that 50% of college graduates do not get a job right away. Maybe in 2 months, but not right after graduation. So it makes your challenge much more difficult. Anyway, let's begin with the Democrats and see what their thoughts are about this whole package of economic issues, but especially unemployment.
Well, thank you, Dr. Peterson. Look, before we address this question, I think it's pretty important that everyone knows, like he said, the unemployment rate in August dropped to 7.8%. Before then, it was 8.1%. 7.8 is the same percentage when President Obama took office in January 2009. So think on that for a minute. The president, and this is supposed to be a platform debate, so the Democratic Party has pushed legislation and acts to address the issue of unemployment. The past 31 months, private sector jobs have been on the rise, not in decline. At this time, it's important to realize that we're out of war. We're out of those wars that predecessors decided to put on credit cards. We can refocus our energy and funds on the job sector, and that's what I think the president has been doing a good job of doing. He's tried to help small businesses with tax cuts, helping their employees get health care, get new equipment, incentives for them. And as far as college graduates goes, I'm graduating in 36 days. Praise God. That is something you need to think about. Some people go on for, more secondary education, and that's a good thing because it is no hidden secret that today's bachelor degree is yesterday's high school diploma. And that's our problem, is that our jobs are requiring specialized training that a bachelor's degree, for the most part, does not cover. We're moving into healthcare and logistics, transportation, advanced manufacturing. My poli-sci degree is just a stepping stone to get there. So that's something you...
That's about 2 minutes.
Oh, man.
You can do I'm sorry, but we got these rules. Okay, let's get to the
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. This unemployment issue is something that is important to us all. You know, when President Obama first came into office and Democrats were in charge of the House and the Senate, they had a plan to pass a stimulus bill. And they said that if we passed the stimulus bill after 2 years, unemployment would be below 6%. Well, they passed it, unemployment skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, it was over 8% for 43 straight months. It just got back under 8% in the month of October, as Dr. Peterson reported. Now, you talk about small businesses. President Obama's plan is to raise taxes on small business owners. I like to think of the quote from Abraham Lincoln. You cannot lift up the wage earner by tearing down the wage payer. In other words, you cannot raise taxes on those who create jobs and trying to lower the unemployment rate. We have plans to lower unemployment. We don't want government to have all these big government solutions to put people back to work. We trust the American people. We want to put it in the hands of small business owners, men and women with great ideas. We want their businesses to expand into different cities and different states. Every major business in this country had to start off at one small location. It grew, it expands, it hires more people. You do that by cutting tax rates. Let business owners feel comfortable with a good economic environment, and unemployment will drop because more people are getting jobs and there's going to be more take-home pay.
Now back to the Democrats.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. I wish there was a tentative fact checker present tonight because I think it is important to say that President Obama did secure a bipartisan agreement to continue tax cuts for small businesses for the next 2 years. And another thing, don't let anyone tell you that secondary education is a luxury, because it's not. It is something we all are entitled to, and it is a prerequisite to get jobs growing again. We need our middle class out innovating, out working, and outgrowing the international community. And we've not seen that recently. We're being outpaced. The United States is actually 9th internationally as far as college students and post-secondary getting degrees. We're falling behind Canada and Japan, guys. I mean, that's a problem. It's also important to know that, like I said, with the healthcare and logistics, it's specialized training, and that's where my friend is going to take off.
And my main point on this is, we're talking about jobs and different things like that. And they said raising taxes and whatnot. But there are many in this country right now who are poor and need help. And I think of a JFK quote with that. If we cannot help the many who are poor, we cannot save the few who are rich. So we have to attack the problem at the source, get jobs. The president has put up on the table a bipartisan bill of the jobs bill. He's been trying to triumph it, but Republicans said, and their leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, our job is to make sure he's a one-term president. So that shows the priorities of the different parties.
Okay, I'll just start it off. First, I would like to touch that it's true that I guess today's bachelor degree is almost like yesterday's high school diploma. But I would like to point out that the Republican Party absolutely supports people getting back to community college and technical colleges. These colleges, this education that they'll receive from here, will provide them with job-ready degrees that can go immediately into technical fields. You got to have somebody who goes to school to be a plumber. You got to have people who are going to work their ambulances and things of that nature. Point is, if you have everybody getting a college degree, this is basic economics. You have a high supply of people with bachelor's degrees, but a low supply of people with technical degrees. Demand's going to shift, and eventually your bachelor's degree is not going to be worth anything. Simple as that. Putting education at the forefront, especially upper level education like we're all getting here, is good, but you cannot neglect people who just aren't cut out for college and would prefer to go to a technical school to be able to hop out after 2-3 years and get a job there. And I'm going to defer the rest of my time to my friend.
We talk about the jobs problem that our country's facing right now. One reason for that is the United States of America has the highest corporate tax rate in the world, 35%. The reason business owners are taking their jobs into other countries, our corporate tax rate is too high. If we want jobs to come back here to America, we have to lower our corporate tax rate, put it in the middle of the pack, where other countries like Canada has its at 15, England has it's at 26, but we're up here at 35. If you're a business owner, and we may have some business measures in here, you don't want to pay these high taxes. So of course, personally, you're going to be thinking, put the jobs in a country where your tax rate is going to be lower. We want jobs to come back here to America. We want people to be hired. Let's lower our corporate tax rate and bring jobs back home to America. Let's put our people back to work. People want jobs. People need jobs to provide for their family. It starts with lowering corporate tax rates, letting business owners feel comfortable. Let's put people back to work. More jobs, more take-home pay.
Those who planned the debate did a good job of having some variety in it, and now we come to the point where we're going to have a little discussion about how to vote, and Brandon Minner and Takira Borden will lead that effort. Then we'll come back and do 4 more questions and turn it over to the audience after that.
Let's give both of them